Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I've got a slightly different video for you, and it's one which I think you'll find quite interesting. I hope you do anyway. I was in Bermuda last month and had a meeting with a client of mine, and he asked me to find him something quite specific. He asked me if I could find him the nicest BMW Z3 that I could find. This might sound a little bit weird because here in the UK the BMW Z3 isn't a particularly rare car, but Bermuda has some very strict rules regarding motor cars. Because the island of Bermuda is so small, in fact it's just 21 miles long and 1.5 miles wide at its widest point, you're only allowed one vehicle per household. They just don't want the island clogged up with loads of cars everywhere, and it makes sense. That's why most people run around on mopeds. Also, the speed limit's very low. It's 21 miles an hour, 35 kilometers per hour, throughout the whole island. There are no motorways, no dual carriageways. That's it. 35 kph is your lot. There are also lots of restrictions with the dimensions. So for example, you can't have anything bigger than a 2.5 litre, it can't be longer than a certain measurement, it can't be wider than a certain measurement, and you can't go over a certain power to weight ratio. So there are lots of different parameters to follow. Basically, if you live there, even if you're a billionaire, all you can have is a Kia Soul. And to be honest, you might think now as a petrolhead that I'd hate that, but I quite like it. It's quite refreshing. The island is the prettiest place on the planet, so you really don't need anything flash. And the roads are narrow, they're quite tiny to be honest, so you really don't need something like this. It'd just be superfluous. Anyway, before I keep rambling, the government of Bermuda have recently passed a law which allows you, for the first time by the way, to bring in a classic car. So it's got to be 25 years or older, and again it's got to fit into all those parameters. Size, weight, power to weight ratio, all that sort of stuff. So now in Bermuda you're allowed your one car per household, but you're allowed an additional car, a classic car, which you're allowed to use every Sunday or every public holiday. I think this is a great idea to be honest, because if you live there, you've now got access to a second car at least one day a week. It means you can take your little classic roadster down to the beach or to the golf course or something like that. I quite like the idea of it. My client realised that the BMW Z3 would be perfect, and I agree. I think it looked great on the island. What I was looking for then, rather than any old ratty cheap Z3, was a real pristine example, a real minter. I was looking specifically for something 25 years or older, so it'd have to be an S-Reg. I think they came out in 1996 or 7, so there are a few model years to choose from. Also, it needed to fit into this power to weight ratio, it needed to be the 1.9 engine. Couldn't be the 2.2 or the 3 litre, it had to be the 1.9. With all that in mind then I started looking, I put my feelers out, and this is what I found. I hope you like it because I'm over the moon with it. I haven't been this excited since I started watching that Second World War documentary on Netflix. I still need to finish it off. I got part way through and then it all got a little bit too graphic. It's this 1999 BMW Z3 1.9 litre roadster, and the most important thing about this car is that it's only done 26,000 miles. That's 26,000 miles in 25 years. And wait till you see the service history. This has been serviced within an inch of its life. I went to go and see this car. It was in a lovely little village in Cheshire, about 10 miles from where I live. And when I saw it and when I saw the history, I just had to buy it. It was the perfect one. I also like the fact that it's finished in exactly the same colour as my SL55, so it's silver with the red leather interior. It just looks really cool. I also like the fact that this is an early pre-facelift car, so it's got the amber lights. It just looks like a classic. I know on this channel you see me buy a lot of scrap cars, but I know a decent car when I see one a mile off, and this is a decent car. The previous owner had had it for 5 years, and he bought it from HR Owen. Now HR Owen are a really prestigious car dealer. They don't sell rubbish, and I thought if they were selling a 20-year-old BMW Z3 5 years ago, then it must have been a decent one. So what I'm going to do next then is prepare this car for its life in the sun. So I've decided to take it to the Z Shed, who are based over in Warrington, and I'm just going to ask them to go through the car and make sure everything's fine. What I'm going to do then is ask Mike and the mechanics at the Z Shed to go over the car and make sure everything's in tip-top condition. It's a 25-year-old car, so I want to make sure that it's had a full service, change the spark plugs, change the filters, change the oil, all that sort of stuff. I want them to change the coolant, because bear in mind, it's going to Bermuda. It's a really humid place with a tropical climate. And of course, you're always close to the coast, so there's a lot of sea air, so I don't want this rusting out. I'm going to ask them to wax oil it thoroughly just to protect it. I'm guessing, when I was looking around this car, I did get on my hands and knees and have a look under it, and I couldn't see any rust. It was in really good condition. The previous owner told me that it had always been garaged, so I do think that I found a genuine one. But going forward, I just wanted to make sure that it was protected. So if that's done every 2 or 3 years, then it should last for many years to come. And bear in mind, this is only going to be used on Sundays and public holidays in a nice, agreeable climate. So it should last for decades. Once all the work's done at the Z Shed, then I'm going to take it over to Seaforth Docks in Liverpool, where it's going to get bundled into a cargo ship. And then I think the first stop is New York, and then on to Hamilton, Bermuda. Once it arrives in Bermuda, there's a ton of tax to pay, and I mean a ton of tax. Then it needs to go through their equivalent of an MOT, and then the whole registration process, so it might take a few weeks. Once all that's done and it's fully registered in Bermuda, then my client is going to auction it off live at this year's Motorfest, hosted by Bermuda Charge. Give them a follow, by the way, I'll leave the link below in the video description. Anyway, Motorfest is Bermuda's only motor show, and this year on the 30th of June it'll be its 5th year. I'm hoping to attend actually, I just need to see if I can work through my hectic diary, but I shall try my best. You'll laugh now, but I actually did a car vertical vehicle history check before I handed over any cash on this occasion, and it was all clear, obviously. So it's really easy to do, all you do is go to carvertical.com, type in the vehicle reg, and then check. Right, and the report's ready. So, it's never been clocked, the mileage is genuine, that was the key thing here, genuine 26,000 miles in 25 years. There's no outstanding finance, there's no recorded damage. Now that was one thing that I spotted with this car straight away, I could tell that the paint was completely original, and that was a big selling point. Now that's something to mention actually, the Bermuda government, along with all the other requirements they asked for, the car that you bring in has got to be completely original. It can't be modified in any way or tampered with. So no engine modifications, no bodywork modifications, it's got to be original. And trying to find a 25-year-old car that not one of its owners is kind of modified is quite a challenge. And as you can see here, we've got photographs of the last time it was advertised. In fact, this wasn't from when I bought it, this was from when the previous guy bought it. So as you can see, it shows you all that. And there isn't another single check that does all this. And it's never been stolen, obviously. Now, at its last MOT, it had done 26,500 miles. And as you can see here, in the last 5 years, it's only done about 2,000 miles. The guy I bought it from just had it as a weekend toy, and it was always garaged and rarely used. It originally started out its life down in Sunningdale in Ascot somewhere, which is quite a wealthy part of the world. In fact, all the early service history is BMW Z3 down in Sunningdale. So if we go down to the MOT history, there's nothing here untoward at all, but it is worth doing one of these checks. The only thing it's needed in the last decade was a coil spring. It had one broken coil spring and that's all it's needed. It really is a pampered garage queen, this. By the way, if you want to do these checks for yourself, and I urge you to do so before you hand over any cash for a used car or motorbike, you really don't know what you're buying without doing one of these checks beforehand. You can save yourself 20% on each and every check that you do if you use my promo code HIGHPEAK. That's HIGHPEAK, all one word. Or alternatively, click the link below in the video description. Right, shall I give you a quick tour then? Show you why I bought it? As I mentioned then, the bodywork is completely original, but in addition to that, we've got 4 matching Pirelli tyres with like 6mm of tread. They're all completely original. The wheels are original. I'll use original a lot, actually, while I'm talking about this car, because it is pristine. The roof all works. Like I say, it's a very early Z3 this, so it's got a semi-automatic roof. So you've got to help it along a little bit, and then you press the button and it does the rest. But the Perspex window in the back is in good condition, as are the leather seats. And it's just nerdy little things like this. So, for example, this is just like my SL in this regard. The cigarette lighter has never been used. All the buttons and switches have got absolutely no sign of wear on them. The steering wheel, you can still feel all the grain. The gear lever's brand new. There's just no wear on anything. It is like getting into a car in 1999. We've got the original carpet mats even. It is just totally original. Let me show you this as well. We've got, I geek out about stuff like this, we've got the 2 remote fobs. That one looks like it's never been used. And we've got the original spare and the little plastic valet key. In addition to that, we've got the original supply and dealer key rings. This is what you pay a premium for. You can tell this car is genuine because the only damage on the whole car, look at this. This is it. On a 25-year-old car, that's it. I was over the moon to find it. Right, let's take it for a drive then, shall we? The more time I've spent with this car, the more I realise this will be the perfect car for Bermuda. You see, the 1.9 litre petrol engine wouldn't be my first choice. You're far better with a 6-cylinder, but that isn't allowed there. And the low speed limit, 21 miles an hour, there's no point with a big 6-cylinder. It'd just be wasted. So this little 1.9 is kind of the perfect thing. It's quite sensible on fuel, and you can still have a little bit of fun with it. The good thing about the Z3 now is that they're a genuine classic. It looks like an old car, which is kind of what you want. They're just at that age. A few years ago they were a bit unloved, and now they're starting to creep up in value. I'm really excited about shipping this car over there because, as I've mentioned many times before, Bermuda is the prettiest place on the planet. So this driving on some of those roads will just look like something out of a magazine. I can't wait to see it. I know I've probably bored you to tears about Bermuda many times, but if you don't know, I was born there and grew up there. So it's a place that's very close to my heart. And one day in the not too distant future, I will own a house there and have it as a holiday home. I just love it. Every time I go back there and see friends and family, I just don't want to leave. This car doesn't know how lucky it is. Its life is going to improve tenfold. Saying that, it hasn't done badly so far, has it? It spent all its life in Ascot, and then it came up north to a lovely little village in Cheshire. So I'm not exactly saving an orphan, am I? But wait till you see Bermuda. Wait till you see it. You won't believe your eyes. I would genuinely love to have a car like this there. Yes, I know you can only use it on Sundays and public holidays, but so what? I think all week you'd look forward to taking it out. Now, in addition to the visible condition of this car, you can tell it's only done 25,000 miles from the way it drives. It is as tight as you like. The pedals are nice and responsive, the gears are nice and tight. It doesn't knock or squeak or rattle. It is completely solid. This is a bit of a bold thing to say really, but it's almost as good as the day it left the factory. I love buying a nice, genuine low mileage car like this. The last Z3 that I featured on this channel was a very cheap one, which was quite scruffy and then I massively overspent on it. This isn't. This was just pristine to begin with. So guys, what we're going to do now is head over to Mike at the Z Shed, who's going to prepare this car for its new life in the sun. Then once it's ready, we're going to head over to Seaforth Docks and wave goodbye to it. Leave this with me for a few days and I'll have an update for you. Cheers. Well, we're here. I got a phone call from Mike this morning. We're up at the Z Shed over in Warrington and the Z3 is all ready. So we're going to go and have a quick tour of it and see exactly what he's done, what it needed, and then, yeah, take it out on the road. Tomorrow morning it's booked in at Liverpool Docks, so I've got to drive it up there. But for now, let's go and see what he's done. Well, it's up on the ramp already, so we can have a good look at the underside of it and see what sort of condition it's in. I'm expecting it to be in decent condition because it's always been garaged. Hey up, Mike.
Afternoon.
So it's all done?
All done, yeah. Very, very clean example.
Okay.
One of the nicest I've seen. 26,000 miles.
It's done something like, 1,000 miles a year.
Yeah, really. I think it did 900 miles between a couple of services.
Yeah.
Very, very well serviced. Whoever's had it has had it serviced every year by the look of it.
Yeah.
Regardless of the mileage, which is the way to go, because a lot of them do get missed out on the services because they do such a low mileage.
Yes.
People tend to scrimp, or they have an oil service and then they find they've missed out on the inspection too, or the plugs, or things like that.
Yeah, right.
But we've given it a once over. It's had a full service. We have pressure tested the cooling system.
Okay.
And changed the coolant, bearing in mind where it's going.
Yeah.
Warm temperatures. And obviously you wanted us to see what we could do to keep it in the state that it's in now in terms of...
That's my concern, because where it's going, it's a small island. I don't know how sort of easy it is to get hold of parts and all that sort of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that it was as nice as possible now.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll last for 5 years without any major headaches.
Well, basically what we've done is we've gone mad with the wax oil. Anywhere we can put it, other than the exhaust and rotating components.
Okay.
And that means suspension components, arms, shockers and things, because they do rust out on these. This is still in really good condition, and hopefully the wax oil, because it never ever dries, we'll keep it like that. It is not the nicest of stuff.
That's the finish then, is it?
Yeah. It'll attract dirt.
Yeah.
So it'll become pretty invisible just with a film of dirt. But yeah, it just stays like that. It doesn't actually dry.
Because my mechanic usually uses, or my local mechanic usually uses something called Schultz or something. So it's thick black, which goes everywhere and it's messy.
Yes, the problem with Schultz is it goes hard.
Right.
In the old days, when cars used to be welded and stuff, and we'd Schultz along the welding and stuff, and then the rust underneath would pop the Schultz off.
Okay.
With wax oil, they say, although we haven't done it, because obviously there's no rust on this one, but you can put wax oil on over existing rust and dirt, and because it seeps.
Right.
It gets underneath stuff.
Okay.
And it doesn't wash off.
That makes sense. Yeah. It never dries out.
It never dries out now. And as I say, once it's had got a bit of dust underneath it, you won't see it. You may get the odd drip where it's come out because we've injected it into the cross members, done all the suspension components.
Okay.
The leading edges of the boot, the bonnet, the front wings are prone to rust on these, and these outer sill covers, which you just basically cannot get anywhere. These are in really good condition.
Okay.
There's one place we haven't put any wax oil is inside the doors, because I don't want it dripping out. Someone getting in the car, catching it and putting it on the leather, because the interior of this car is like brand new.
Yeah, right. And they don't really rust on the doors anyway, do they?
No, not really. I think we've covered the main areas of where it's going to go.
Okay.
And the bits from working on the bits I see that rust.
Yeah, right. Under the bonnet then, what sort of components tend to rust out?
Well, we've done it sort of up to about halfway up.
Okay.
We've done the chassis rails and everything, but I didn't want too much on show under the bonnet, because although it's there for protection, you've got to get that balance between what it looks like and what it's doing. So all we've done really is we've done all of the front ends as much as we can behind the grille. The front edge of the bonnet, which gathers water, we've done that as well. All of the wheels have been off it. All of the wheel arches have been absolutely soaked in it. And a lot of the suspension components, other than things like the brakes and stuff like that, have just to give them a bit more life when it gets to where it's going.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
There's no oil leaks or anything on it. It's, it's a really, really straight car.
I've had this part of my driveway for about a week and it hasn't moved. Then when I moved it, there was nothing under it, so I was
always a good sign.
Confident.
Yeah, always a good sign.
Everything else that you checked is all right?
Everything's okay, yeah. Everything appears to be absolutely fine on it. We've done the brake pads on the front just because they had corroded a little bit on the back plate and they were a bit tight in the carriers, which can cause binding wheels, but obviously, as you can see, absolutely fine now.
So no issues with the coolant system then?
No. Coolant system pressure tested to just over the release pressure of the cap. And it's fine.
Okay, perfect.
But yeah, steerable spook all stamped and ready to go.
Right, lovely. All right. Let's get it off the ramp then and out on the road. Right, we're all done here then. Thank you to Mike and the lads at the Z Shed for sorting this out at short notice. I'm going to head home now. The sun's out, so I'll have the roof down. And then tomorrow, I'll see you at Liverpool Docks. Morning guys, well we're up at Seaforth Docks in Liverpool. I drove the car back to my house last night after picking it up from the Z Shed and it made a massive difference with its new spark plugs. It just felt a whole lot more responsive, so I'm quite pleased about that. This is my first time up at this port and it's a massive place. I kind of underestimated the size of it and I haven't got a clue where I'm going. There's nothing really on my shipping notes, so I'm going to have to start asking some questions. All I know so far is that the car's going to be loaded up onto a ship. Its first stop is New York, then I believe it changes ship, and then it goes across the Atlantic to the Sargasso Sea, and then into Bermuda. The whole process is going to take about 2 weeks. I was thinking last night, it'd be a bit rude if I didn't fly over there and meet it at the other end, wouldn't it? So I might look into that. Obviously I was thinking about you guys here, not myself at all, but I was thinking I could then show you the whole live auction, I could show you the Motor Fest, I could, I don't know, give you a tour of the island, show you where I grew up. What do you think? Right, well, time's ticking. I suppose I should try and figure out where I'm going, shouldn't I? Anyone got any ideas? Anyone worked here before or been here before? Because I haven't got a clue. I'm going to have to start asking around, aren't I? So anyway, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. I'll leave the links below. And yeah, cheers guys. See you next time.